Okay, so this is the last scatter plot, and it's a very complex one. And because of that, we have to make sure that the data is sorted in a certain way. If we don't sort the data, then it's going to put the Supreme Court in the wrong spot. So let's start with sorting the data. Sort cases. Let's do, and this is the important part, it's got to be level X has got to be descending. Okay, after level X, we're going to do circuit X, which is ascending. I don't know why it does that, but you have to go back and click descending. So make sure it's descending, ascending. Underneath this, let's do the Lexis citation. That one we want in descending mode as well. And then finally, let's do judge opinion X and sort that in ascending as well. So level X descending, that is the key variable that needs to be done. These others, put it in a good working order, but they're not necessarily as important for this plot. Make sure this one's done. Okay, we've got that done. Okay, there we go. Took a while for it to sort. So now we are ready to do our plot. So we're going to go to Legacy Design, Scatter Plot like we always have done, but this time we're going to do an overlay because we're going to we're essentially going to create a map of your decision, of your landmark decision across 3 different levels of court. And if that sounds complex, it kind of is. And so it requires kind of this more complex plot. What we do is we do pairs, y and x pairs, and then we kind of put things together. The most important thing is before we even start, click up here in Options and click this Exclude Cases Variable by Variable. Can't do list-wise here, otherwise the plot won't run, so that's really important. Options, Exclude Variables by Variable Name. Good. Continue. Alright, so let's go through, and we're going to use these variables that we created last, but we have to put them in a certain order. This is the JDD goes first, and we're going to pair that with decision date. Decision date is always going to be the X variable. Okay. After we do this next one, we're going to do the majority follows. Alright, those are decision dates there. After the majority follows, we're going to do the concurring follows. After that, we're going to do the concurring distinguish. After that, we're going to do the majority distinguish. And then the last one we're going to do is, JDF, which is the dissent from follow. Okay, so we should have our 6 categories. Okay, so from top to bottom, we go from our ordinal scale, the dissent from distinguish, right? Majority follow, concurring dissent, majority dissent, or majority distinguish. And then the last one here is going to be the dissent from follow. Okay. I don't worry about the label cases or anything else, but we do want to panel this by level of court. And you'll see what that does in just a second. So you have your 6 pairs in, you have your options, exclude case variables by variable, level X, run it, and you should get something that looks like that, which is kind of cool. It puts the U.S. Supreme Court decisions up on top, U.S. Court of Appeals on the middle, and the U.S. District Court on the bottom. And we're going to code these in such a way that you can actually kind of interpret or map the decision across these 3 different levels. Okay, so this is our initial plot, and we're going to edit it just like we always did. Click that. Let's make this a full window. Let's start with the chart size, and because this is going to be a really big plot, we're going to make this 900 by 900. And the first thing that we want to do is we want to kind of start making the symbols mean something. So what we're going to do, these three up here where they followed, or the judge would have followed the opinion, right? And these are where they would have distinguished. And so we're going to make these squares and shaded, right? And these are going to be X's and crosses and things of that nature. So let's just get the symbols fixed first. So clicking on this one up here, we'll select all those ones out there. We're going to change, first thing I always do, change the border color, because if you don't do it initially, it'll come back and cause you problems. So always click on change border color to black. We're going to use this one. I'm going to use the diamonds here, and I'm going to use diamonds and the darkest gray. I'm going to make those size 10s and apply. So those are those. Let me make sure I fill it. So we've got, those are the ones that are dissent from distinguish. Okay. I'm going to go through and make these. These are going to be just regular squares. Let's change the border color to black. Okay. Go up here. Change these. Make them size 10. In the fill here, do something lighter. And those work pretty well. All right. Here, because they're concurrences, we're going to make those. Let's click on the black. Make them squares. But we're just going to do something really light within them. Something like that. Apply like that. Yeah. And in the fill, we'll do apply that. Which is essentially the same as the background, so that'll look fine. For these, we're going to start with crosses, little plus signs. We're going to make those 12. These need to be a little bit bigger. This is the problem that I was talking about, why you have to do it. So now, once you go to that, once you go to, click on this. If you don't change this border color and you automatically shift it to something like that, it locks down the border color. And so if I just change it, I get purple plus signs. I don't want purple plus signs, so you have to go back to a circle one, you have to change it to black, and then you have to do the little pluses. And then we get our, see, even worse. Do those, something along those lines. But if you do it this way, if you come in, make the border black, we're going to make these X's. And still have to do it that way. To do apply there. Should be a little bit better. Let's do this last one. Okay, so the last one is going to be, we're going to use little stars, little 5-point stars. And I just made the same mistake that I did before. I need to change those from red to black. Make my stars and make my and we're good. Alright, so we've got our symbols, and if we look at our symbols out here, we'll see different levels of activity. So if we go down to the U.S. District Court, they basically distinguish and not much change at all. But at the Supreme Court, they'll still follow it out here, right? So this is, they're showing that they kind of resurrecting, or they'll continue to try to invoke it up here. But at least for the U.S. District Court, it was alive for a while, and then they just kind of, they always distinguish it now. And you see the different levels here. Good. The next step is to go in here and change these names, and I already did the top one, so let's do this one. Click on it twice, right? So first click, and then your second click will pull this up. And that'll make that one, right? Click on it. This one again will. No, this one I did wrong. is going to be file majority dash distinguish. And this last one is going to be descent from file. Okay, so we've got our 6-part category. If we look at this box, you want to kind of get a lot of extra space here. So once we get those in there, let's see if we can kind of adjust this. It may not allow us to do it. If you double click it twice, it does. Good. So let's put this thing out here. And good. Let's see if I can pull this back. That's what I want. And that's pretty good. And if I click here, then I can go down here and I can pull this out a little bit more. So we got less wasted space. It's not bad at all. Alright, so that's our U.S. Supreme Court, U.S. Court of Appeal level. We don't really need this level X thing. Let's get rid of that. Delete it. Gone. Let's do our scales. Let's do -1, 1, keep that at 0.25, apply that so that gets it a little bit lighter. What we need here is we need a little bit of a reference point to kind of see liberals and conservatives. One nice way to do this is put in a, you just put in one of these horizontal markers and it just puts it in at 0. And that's nice, it looks good, right? So, one final thing that we need in here is we need to put display axis title. That's fine. Display labels. Alright, but it's not going to let us insert the label, so we're going to have to do that same trick that we did last time. There's a way to actually do it differently, but I'll show you that in class. Insert a text box. What I'm going to do with this text box is I'm going to do it, put in first what I need it to say. Good. So I do that. I've got it kind of in the right place, but it's in the wrong direction. So what I'll have to do is make that bottom up. All right. And it'll go to something like that. And so I'll have to make it. Probably what I'll do. It should be able to fit in something like that. Let's do it over here. Move that up to the top of the plot. Move that down to the bottom. Have to do it incrementally. For whatever reason, it won't let me do that. So let's just do the one issue with these are once you get to certain kind of certain complexities, it gets to be pretty crazy. Let's see. Now I'm just going to put it right in the middle of that corner right there, and that's perfect. Okay. So we have the other thing we want to do. Let's bold that thing. Got that set. If we go down here, we've got by the different levels, everything's good. We'll close that, and that is our scatter plot. Expand that, and I'll show you kind of what it looks like. That's not bad. So we've got a map for the U.S. Supreme Court where it seems to be active, right? Try to resurrect it a little bit there. In the U.S. Court of Appeals, it was active for a time period. Somebody used it recently, but generally speaking, it's not that dead. And then in the U.S. District Courts, the lowest level, for a little while it was active, but after the 40s, it's just dead, right? So this is a declining precedent. But at the Supreme Court level, they'll use almost any precedent they want as long as it says what they want. And so they'll continue to use it for different things. Okay, good.